Welcome to Stories from the NNI. I'm Lisa Friedersdorf, Director of the National Nanotechnology Coordination Office. Today, it's my pleasure to welcome Dr. Jared Ashcroft, the Director of the Micro Nanotechnology Education Center and instructor at Pasadena City College. Jared, thank you so much for joining us today. To get us started, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got involved in nanotechnology?
Oh, thanks, and thanks for having me. So I'm a chemistry professor at Pasadena City College. I did my Ph.D. work at Rice University, and while at Rice University, basically if you went there for graduate school, you were going to be doing nanotechnology whenever I started in the year 2000. I worked for Dr. Lon J. Wilson, taking nanoparticles, carbon-based nanoparticles, and attaching biomolecules like antibodies to them for use in cell-specific drug delivery or contrast agents for medical applications. So I always wanted to teach. Like, I went to graduate school, I went for everything because I always wanted to teach, and I wasn't sure exactly where I wanted to teach: community college, high school. After doing my postdoc at the Lawrence Berkeley Laboratories, I got a teaching position at Cal State Fullerton, and then from there applied to different positions and eventually ended up at Pasadena City College. While at Pasadena City College, the NAC network, the Nanotechnology Applications and Career Knowledge Network, which is at Pennsylvania State University, they had a workshop that was available in ATE, Advanced Technological Education Workshop from NSF. And from there, over the last 8 or 9 years, I've been involved with the Micro Nanotechnology group through the National Science Foundation Advanced Technological Education program. And we've just been figuring out how can we bring nanotechnology to the community colleges, especially in terms of industry jobs and getting students certificates or associate degrees so that they can, instead of transferring, go right into the industry and workforce in nanotechnology.
Well, that's great. And, I understand the engagement with NAC and working with the ATE program, but can you talk a little bit about this new center? I'm really excited about this center. I just think it's fabulous. And how did it come to be, and what are your plans going forward? It's relatively new, isn't it?
It is. So it is a new center. We were funded July 1st. And in a way, we're a national center that's trying to get all the community colleges and four-year universities, nonprofit organizations, and industry kind of in the same room talking to each other. This center aims to utilize all the resources that we have across the country that we've been developing over the last 20 years. So what we're doing with this Micro Nanotechnology Education Center is that we found community college leaderships. So all of the co-principal investigators are from community colleges. We have Edmonds Community College, which is in Seattle, Portland Community College in Oregon, Northwest Vista Community College, which is in San Antonio, and Pasadena City College in California. At each of those colleges, we have experts in some type of nanotechnology. For instance, I love nanobiotechnology because that's what I did my doctorate in. We have Greg Kepner, who does photonics. So we're bringing in some laser tech optics, nanophotonics into the center. Mel Cassette, who's from Edmonds Community College or Edmonds College, she brings in material science. Peter Kajarnoff, very knowledgeable in kind of semiconductors, electronics. And so the idea for this center is bring in people from across the country who are experts in nanotechnology disciplines, but also kind of bridging all of these disciplines and seeing how they work together. And then also, how can we work with other ATE centers and programs in manufacturing or autonomous technologies or biotechnology? The thing I love about Nano is that it's got its arms spread out through all these different disciplines. So how do we have this center that we're building bridge all of these disciplines and all of these different people around the country to create technical education programs that benefit the students so that the students can come and get a degree in 2 years and get educated in skills that they need to work in micro nanotechnology, and then work with the industry partners, which to me, that's probably the key, is we need to have industry partners working with this Micro Nanotechnology Education Center so that once our students finish their certificate or their education, that now they have entry-level jobs into these micro nanotechnology industries across the country.
Can you talk a little bit about your experience working with students at the 2-year level and what skills you see that they need and how you kind of meet that nurturing of them over that time before you send them off.
The thing I love about it at Pasadena City College, we have a variety of students from different backgrounds. A lot of students are coming in, and at least in California, there's such a transfer focus. Like, I have to transfer, I have to get A's in this chemistry class, or I have to do, so exceptional, or otherwise I can't transfer. I think one thing that this technical education pathway allows is for students who are coming in, who are phenomenal students, but a little bit bigger learning curve, right? They just need a little bit more experience or a little bit more confidence. They need to be a little bit more engaged in science and kind of make it a passion. And the thing I love about technical education and micro nanotechnology specifically is there's so much cool, exciting experiments and activities or education programs that we can develop. I mean, who doesn't want to use a scanning electron microscope to look at butterfly wings or to look at really small structures? Who doesn't want to do engineering, building, or designing, for instance, nanosensors that can be put in the eyes? Or, in my case, I developed nano-based bioconjugates, taking nanoparticles and biomolecules and fusing them together for use in medicine. Like, this is exciting science that you don't really get in your basic chemistry classes or your introductory biology classes. This provides an avenue, I think, for those students who are really great hands-on, really great critical thinkers. And those are, to me, are the skills that really we want to develop first at these entry-level classes. How do we get the students to think critically through a problem? How do we get students to be able to communicate with other students? How do we get them to know all these soft skills, this time management skills? And then once you you develop those skills, now you can give them higher level projects. I love undergraduate research. Like, I have an undergraduate research program. I love working with students. I love to have them present. I love to have them think through the problem and design the solution to the problem themselves. And through the Micro Nanotechnology Education Center and this technician education pathway, it's really an undergraduate research pathway to me. Like, you're providing the students an opportunity to go to the lab or go to your industry partners, and they get to work hands-on in the micro nanotech world. And from that, they're going to, one, gain more engagement with micro nanotechnology and science in general. Two, they're going to learn a lot of those soft skills, time management, how to design experiments, critical thinking, that's really necessary, and the industry honestly probably wants more so than how do you run an SEM. Those are sort of the skills that we're trying to focus on in the development of our programs in our education pathways. One, I think it better prepares the students for the professional workforce, but two, I also think it just engages the students more and they start actually liking science. And I've always found the key to getting students through a science curriculum or a science program is for them to actually grow a passion for it and learn to love it. Because if you learn to really like it and be passionate for it, you're going to want to do it.
You've mentioned a couple of times the importance of your industry partners and how to connect your students through opportunities to work with them, but then also for career pathways. Can you talk a little bit how you work with industry and how you build those partnerships?
Kind of what I challenge them is, I don't want you just to come to our advisory meetings and check a box and tell us, nod your head and say, oh, this looks great. I want you to participate in what knowledge, skills, and abilities do our students need to know? And not just know now, but in 5 years or 10 years. Like, what's all the emerging technology that's coming into place that we have to prepare our students now for, so they're ready to work in your fields in the future? And that's the pitch to them is, you're going to help us design a curriculum that's going to match your needs. And therefore, you're going to have better employees once they finish their program, and they're going to be more knowledgeable in what you need. I think that the key with industry is find that person in that industry or in that company that's going to actively engage and communicate with you. One thing that I've always done is, if I send emails to people, if they reply back to me, then I know that they're probably going to be a really great partner. That to me is the huge key. Let's communicate well and try and make it sort of a symbiotic relationship where both of us are gaining some benefit from being in this community.
How does the industry engagement work with the network of universities? I mean, so does the industry work with their local school, or How does that work?
We call it a business industry leadership team, or BILT. And the idea is that we're going to connect with our industry partners, and we're going to ask them, can you participate in at least once a year meeting where you come and you go over our knowledge, skills, abilities, our KSAs. We don't really do it regionally, and the reason why is because nanotechnology has a lot of subdisciplines. So instead of breaking it apart by region, now we are trying to make sure that we get industry from each region to participate, but we break it up more into, for instance, material science. There's a lot of aspect of nanotechnology in material science. We have kind of nanobiology or nanobiotechnology, photonics, nanophotonics and optics. Those needs are probably going to be a little bit different than the needs for materials and the other ones. And then, of course, the big ones, the electronics, semiconductor industry, fabrication. So the idea really is going to be that we would have sub-built teams, sub-business industry leadership teams that'll work together. We're hoping on like a quarterly basis that they can meet in smaller groups, talk about the specific fields. And then every year, maybe twice a year, we bring the full team together so that we can discuss where does it overlap? What are those basic skills that everybody should know? Because they're in technological education, there are basic skills that every student should be getting from their programs. And then from these built teams or these industry-led teams, we will validate or look at our programs and decide, all right, where's the skills gaps? What are we missing in our programs, and how could we support either creating the material or finding the material so that we can then put that into our curriculum across the country. And again, I think the big key here is making sure that the business industry leadership team, the community colleges, the four-year university partners, which are vital for us because not many community colleges have clean rooms, and we need clean rooms to do nanotechnology and micro nanotechnology. So having those access to clean rooms at four-year universities is very important. The subject matter experts in universities, there's not a wide amount or a great amount of community college nanotechnology experts. So we count on a lot of those partners from the four-year universities to do professional development with us so that we can get more community college partners knowledgeable in what we do. And then it's really having all of them work together, communicate together to build out our programs and really build the Micro Nanotechnology Education Center into what it can become.
Do you have an example of an engagement with a student that really just kind of exemplifies what you're trying to do and what you see as success, maybe on an individual level?
It's always the most enjoyable part of being in education, especially being at community colleges, is the interactions that we have with students. I mean, I've had some phenomenal students. One of my students got accepted to present at Posters on the Hill, her research that she did. It was with the Remotely Accessible Instruments and Nanotechnology Network, which is RAIN. Basically, what we do is we provide free instrumentation like scanning electron microscopes, atomic force microscopes, pretty much any microscope you can think of, for free remotely for people to use. So one of my early research projects that we started probably 5 or 6 years ago was, well, if we use this RAIN network or scanning electron microscope in K through 12 classes or even community college classes, how effective is it? Is it something that's bringing benefit to the students? You would think, oh yeah, you're looking at cool pictures. They can see spiders at the nanoscale, but like zoomed in a lot. But is there some benefit that we can quantify doing it? So my student, her name is Vanessa. She designed, and a group of them designed, and we ended up going to, I think, 30 classrooms in 1 year. We were working with NASA Education because Jet Propulsion Lab is right down the street from Pasadena City College. And we designed a geology lab where the students had to do all the chemical tests, physical tests, looking at the rocks, doing acid-base tests and stuff like that. And we basically did we got this rock that we've brought to your class from Mars, since we're from NASA. We showed them a picture of Mars and a picture of Death Valley. And if you ever look, they look very similar. And we just said, this is a Mars rock. It's really limestone from Death Valley. But then we said, hey, can you figure out what it is? Because that's what the Mars rover is doing up there anyway. They actually have a rover up there that does all the same tests that our students did. And then at the end, we said, well, can you say it's limestone for sure based on these chemical and physical tests? And we ended up saying, oh, but you could use this SEM, the scanning electron microscope with electron dispersive spectroscopy, and you can figure out the elemental analysis. So now you do the physical test, the chemical test, and you can see the elemental analysis kind of at the end. And it was just amazing to see. So Vanessa actually went and read like a full statistics book, and she developed a paper. She developed all the statistic protocols. She did everything. And, we just got it published in the Research and Science Education, I think just about 2 weeks ago, after 3 years of writing the paper and getting the data. And she got the first author on it. But yeah, she basically took that project that we got all this really data that I didn't know what to do with. And she created a story that showed how the remotely accessible instruments and nanotechnology network is a great way for technology education. So the paper ended up being teaching technology education using RAIN versus teaching educational technology using RAIN. And there's a slight difference. Technology education is teaching how to use the instruments and what they are, where educational technology is more, this is how we use the instruments in education. And the paper really demonstrated that this RAIN network is an awesome way to teach technology education to these students who probably never heard of an SEM before.
So, Jared, I've really enjoyed chatting with you today, and I definitely am thrilled to see your passion. Do you have any closing thoughts that you want to share with our listeners?
An invitation. If you're interested in technology education or community college education to work with students to get them jobs at the end, feel free to contact us and contact our group and get engaged with it. I think the more engagement that we can get with our partners, with faculty from across the country, from a variety of disciplines and a variety of different types of school, it's just really going to make our center better and increase opportunities for students as a whole, which in the end, that is the ultimate goal of what our program is.
Thank you for joining us today for the stories from the NNI. If you would like to learn more about nanotechnology, please visit nano.gov or email us at info@nnco.nano.gov. And check back here for more stories.